Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The tolerant left, the illiberal liberals, the anti-fascist fascists. They're feeling as emboldened as ever. Anti-establishment liberals all over Twitter cheering on massive corporations in their anti-American attack, anti-constitutional attacks on the freedoms of individuals. We live in a backwards world, folks, and this is what we've been dealing forever. This is what the president has been dealing with since he took office, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse as they use him and his supporters abuse the news cycle as an excuse to take more and more power. The authoritarian left is completely out of control, folks, and the onslaught, what is being dubbed the Great Purge, continues to get even more extreme. And that's what we're going to talk about on this video, just how far the left is taking it, how far the Democrat machine and individual leftists are taking their leftist authoritarian crusade against right-wingers and, of course, anyone connected to the president. And so I got a ton of stories to show you guys, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. All right, so the first piece, I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but we have to cover, we absolutely must cover it on this channel, a breaking video from Project V and James O'Keefe. Here's Principal Counsel for PBS, Michael Beller, and his perspective on right-wingers. This is an actual PBS employee. Check this out.
Anyone Biden wins, you go through all the Republican voters and Homeland Security will take the children away. How about that? And we'll put them into re-education camps.
Amen.
And so, you know, a lot of the times people think we're being hyperbolic when we talk about gulags or re-education camps, Mao-style humiliation, but we wouldn't be talking about it if the left didn't constantly allude to it, and not just random fringe weirdos on Twitter, but thought leaders and people who work at some of these major organizations. I mean, for Pete's sakes, AOC makes some sort of allusion to a level of extreme leftism, extreme authoritarian leftism on a nearly weekly basis. At least that's what it feels like. They compile lists of Trump supporters. They hold right-wingers to a completely different standard than they hold their own. They talk about conservatism as if it's some sort of like malignant tumor that must be eradicated. We just covered this tweet yesterday from John Brennan, urging for total denunciation of a despot's legacy is necessary to eradicate any remaining malignancy, meaning Trump supporters must totally denunciate Trump and his legacy, and it's necessary if they plan on joining back into society. We're talking about some seriously crazy rhetoric, some rhetoric that really does flash back to elements of history surrounded by suppression, oppression, and loss of life. The left loves to throw the term around Nazi. They love calling everyone that they disagree with literally Hitler, but it may just be projection. We're fighting against a machine hell-bent on power, hell-bent on control, regardless of context or what the truth is. It doesn't matter. The context of what happened last week in DC doesn't matter. The comparison to very recent history doesn't matter. All that matters is going after their political opponents to further their grasp on power. And let me show you guys some stories that'll really put that whole thing into perspective. Enemy number one is, and has always been, at least for the last 4 years, President Donald Trump, the only man in office who stood up to them. Just check out some of these headlines. German banking giant Deutsche Bank cuts ties with President Trump. Report. The scandal-ridden Deutsche Bank is clearly the moral superior here. The bank connected towards money laundering with Russia, among a myriad of other scandals, is going to take the high ground and stop doing business and close all of Donald Trump's accounts. Salesforce shuts down Trump campaign emails claiming they, quote, incite violence. The Trump campaign are not allowed access to emails because allegedly they've incited violence. Absolutely no proof is necessary. The media's narrative is all the proof that they need, once again, to jump on the woke bandwagon in an attempt to save their own behinds from any type of scrutiny from the Democrat machine, because really that's what only matters to these companies. Check this out. Payment processor Stripe blacklists Trump campaign. No more payment processing. Can't exactly run anything if you can't process transactions. Trump campaign official denied entry into TV studio for interview. They told us he's on a list of people they won't allow in. Of course, we know the best way to allow someone or an entity to defend themselves is, of course, don't give them the ability to speak and give their argument. Just shut them out because they're such terrible people and they don't deserve the right to speak. Only the fascist left reserves that right. New York State Bar Association considers expelling Rudy Giuliani for his role in, quote, provoking mob to storm U.S. Capitol. Rudy Giuliani, who did nothing but show show up at courthouses and give press conferences, plead his case and represent his client, a man who represent those who were giving him affidavits, and a man, from my understanding, we've covered everything that he said, was focused on the law and the Constitution and equal protection clauses that were being disregarded in several states, apparently incited violence. How exactly? Well, you better not worry about that one. Don't ask questions and you won't have any problems is probably what they would tell you. Let's stick around in New York. You know, Mayor Giuliani is known as America's mayor, the greatest New York mayor of all time, who brought the city back to vibrance. Let's go now to the current worst mayor of New York, the worst mayor of all time. Bill de Blasio will explore canceling New York City contracts with Trump Organization. It's the illiberal left, folks. This is why they're unable to have discussions, debates. It's not because they're unable, it's because they don't want to. They don't want to meet any level of challenge. They want to flex the muscle of government, flex the muscle of culture and power and control and big tech and media, and subdue their opponents, twist the narrative, and claim power because they feel entitled to it. I mean, just think about the justification. There is no justification to claim that the president directly incited violence. If that was the case, then pretty much every right-winger would have expected violence headed in. But no violence was ever incited, especially by the president. People were expecting January 6th to just be another positive Trump rally like the thousands that we've already seen before. And so, of course, big tech and the media have to stretch it and once again blame everything on Trump. No matter what he does, it's his fault. No matter what happens, it's his fault. Let's once again go back to the reasoning of why Twitter permanently suspended President Donald Trump. Because of this tweet. To all of those who have asked, I will not go to Biden's inauguration, and that's supposedly gonna inspire violence. In what universe is that true? I have absolutely no idea. But another leftist authoritarian who seems to jump right on the bandwagon, an illiberal, an anti-fascist fascist, hammer and sickle Bernie Sanders is totally okay with it. Mr.
The most dangerous president in American history.
Mr. Anti-establishmentarian, Mr. I am asking for your financial support for Joe Biden after the establishment nuked my campaign to oblivion. Look at this tweet that he just released. Let's be clear, if Trump is too dangerous to send out a tweet or a Facebook post, he's too dangerous to be commander-in-chief. Donald Trump must be removed from office immediately and held accountable for his horrific acts of sedition, violence, and chaos. Well, you guys are smart enough to see the absolute ridiculous nature of this tweet. I don't even feel like I have to analyze it. What an absolute clown. And it's not even funny at this point. You know, I love laughing at ridiculous statements and tweets, but this is just sad. People siding with mega corporations in tandem with government, controlling what can and can't be said, spinning the truth to attack their political opponents. Twitter suspends 70,000 accounts claiming QAnon ties. What about the Antifa groups on Twitter who are still actively calling for violence, who are still actively coordinating violent riots across the country, still smashing up small businesses in Portland? What about them? Well, rules for thee and not for me. Speaking of rules for thee and not for me, people are posting this tweet like crazy all over the place from Twitter public policy. Access to information and freedom of expression, including the public conversation on Twitter, is never more important than during democratic processes, particularly elections. Hashtag Uganda decides 2021. And could you imagine the absolute tone-deaf nature? I told you guys in a video prior, these companies don't even care anymore. They actually don't even care. They do it overtly in your face, slap you in the face, and tell you that you're gonna like it. So free speech is important in the Ugandan election, but in the American election, every tweet that the president sends out is gonna be disputed, it's gonna be censored, negative information to the opposing candidate on the Democrat side is gonna be censored, it's gonna be deleted off Twitter during the height of the election process, and people who share it and people who talk about it are gonna be banned. But anything related to Trump, illegally releasing his tax returns, lying about it, etc., calls to violence, riots, as long as they come from a left-wing source, it's acceptable political speech. Give me a break. They even had the nerve, the audacity, at least Mark Zuckerberg that is, to ban Ron Paul. Ron Paul tweets with no explanation other than repeatedly going against our community standards at Facebook has blocked me from managing my page. Never have we received notice of violating community standards in the past, and nowhere is the offending post identified. Ron Paul. Does it get any more benign than that? A lovable character, a father, a patriot, one of the most respectable politicians of all time who's advocated for the people and the middle class his entire career, a physician who served in the military, but nope, can't have that. He's engaged in wrong thing. It's a backwards world, folks, and we gotta keep trying to somehow turn this thing around and get us facing forward again. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but at least we gotta try, because things are just getting ridiculous at this point. But that's what I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. Now I gotta get back to work. I wanna thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.